Welcome to the Landmark Baseball Podcast. We're doing an impromptu episode today. George Springer just signed with the Blue Jays, 6 years, $125 million. So we figured we'd make a quick episode about it, just breaking down initial thoughts. Neil, what are your initial thoughts on this?
I mean, you love to see it, like I was telling you before we started this. I thought, the big news for the Blue Jays was going to be signing Kirby Yates, which, is a great signing. I saw a lot of him in San Diego, and he's a, great reliever. But, Springer, like that is a huge, huge signing. Springer, I mean, he's one of the best guys on the market right now. Him, Real Muto, Bauer. He's, one of the big
Top three
guys.
free agent.
Yeah, and he signed, what'd you say the deal was?
It's 6 years, $125 million, $25 million per year.
Right, right. And you could say, like, you were saying earlier that that's going to be a lot, when he's older. But, right now, that's a scary lineup. The big question is, though, where does this place them now in their division? I mean, so, the Rays took a step back. You could say they'll be dead, in a couple of years. I mean, but they're pitching right now. They're not quite there. I mean, you could say the same about the Blue Jays. They're pitching still. You got Ryu. You got Nate Pearson, who has a lot of potential, but then a lot of other question marks. But I mean, that lineup, though, when you read it off: Springer, Biggio, Bichette, Teoscar Hernandez, Vlad Guerrero. That's pretty scary, I'd
Yeah, we
say.
were looking at the lineup before this episode started, and like this lineup all of a sudden just got really dangerous. Like, so Guerrero lost like 40 pounds in the offseason, and Springer just became their best hitter. But who knows what Guerrero can do with a lot of that extra weight taken off of him. Biggio gets on base a lot. Bichette's an elite hitter.
Bichette's really
Kershit
good.
can swing the bat. Lourdes Gurriel has gotten MVP potential from his teammates. His teammates said that about him. So, I mean, this lineup just became probably one of the peskiest lineups in baseball and an effective one at that.
Right, and I think this is just great for the sport in general. Really haven't seen. Uh,
Happy to see a
yeah,
signing like this go to a team like the Jays, not the
yeah.
Mets, not the Yankees, not the Padres.
Well,
Padres, it's good to see, but
Padres are not. They're not in that category. I mean, they kind of are because they've been
this
spending a
offseason they
lot.
have been, but
Yeah, this off season, yeah, they just went wild. But yeah,
but
it's
Springer
definitely
should just
great.
plug in right away in right field. He'll join Teoscar Hernandez, who will probably be in center field. Gurriel will be in left, and then Springer will take right or DH with Grichuk. His career OPS is right around 900. Career OPS plus 131. Well above average hitter. In the postseason, he's clutch. I mean, we've seen highlights of
Really
him
good.
for half a decade now of Springer just
People
hitting bombs.
people want to say his stats are tainted or whatever, because of the whole Astro scandal. But this guy, he's just been great, great hitter throughout. And yeah, he's a great outfielder, So yeah,
And in the
definitely.
2020 season, his stats didn't really take the dip that we saw in some of the other
Right, right.
heads of the cheating scandal. In 2020, he still came away with a 360 on base percentage, that 900 OPS plus, 140 OPS plus, 900 OPS. So, I mean, his this year was actually above average for him. So, if we can still point to him as a pretty elite talent.
Right. I want to see if I can get his playoff stats also for this year, because those were.
There's a baseball reference section for it. In 2020, his playoff stats, he did terrible in the first series against the Twins, but Twins lose every series they face. Didn't matter. In the ALDS, he was going off actually, hit 2 home runs, had a 1.2 OPS, almost a 400 batting average. I mean, for 4 games, what more could you ask?
Well, you see it at a 1.2
But in
OPS?
his
Oh, like 1200? Yeah.
1.2,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay, yeah, that's
1200.
pretty insane. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
so
crazy.
yeah, and even before, yeah, we've seen he's carried that team in the playoffs. Even in that World Series when they beat the Dodgers, he went
He
off.
was World Series MVP
Oh yeah, yeah, he was. Yeah, exactly.
2017.
So yeah, great signing for the Blue Jays. But yeah, the big question is where does this
Long
put
term.
them? Oh, well, I'm talking about short term. Where does this put them? Because this is a move for the short term. So where would you say this gets them? Do they make a World Series in the next 3 years?
Depends what they do with that rotation, but I think as of this year and for right now, they are better than the Rays, at least in this year. The
Yeah,
Yankees probably still edge them out if they stay healthy, but outside of that, Jays should have an easy wild card spot, no question. If the
right.
Yankees get the injury bug again like they have the last 3 years, I mean, we could be looking at the division winners
No, yeah, this
who
this
could
lineup
potentially run away with it.
this lineup is gonna feast on the Orioles and the Red Sox. This is not gonna be, they've taken a huge step away from those teams, or maybe
This
you
is a
could have
big
gotten
league
into some
lineup, yeah.
series. Yeah, this is this yeah, like you said, some of these lineups that you see, yeah, they're not all big league guys. These guys are certainly capable of getting it done. And yeah, you never know with the Yankees, their injuries. Right now their rotation, I'd say, I think we could both agree is looking better. But yeah, you never know. They could they've caught the injury bug pretty much every year, and that might be the same trend. And Blue Jays might just come out on top. I wouldn't even say they would be that much of a surprise because they are still pretty good. Like I said, like Yankees slight edge, but yeah, you never know. You never know. And honestly,
I
with
mean, the whole
the
Yankees rotation's a coin flip.
right, and with the rest of the AL also, I mean, White Sox, they're beatable. This Blue Jays could beat the White Sox. That's not, the craziest thing. I mean, it's not
Right.
crazy at all. So who knows? This might be what gets them to the World Series. I mean, it sounds crazy to say now, but I wouldn't say that's the craziest thing you could say, I guess.
I just really love this lineup. I mean, Biggio has gotten on base really consistently since he came up in 2019. Bichette's only had limited play, and he's been as good as Tatis by a lot of metrics. If you look at it, he's just had a smaller sample size, but Bichette's right there with Tatis in just about every metric. Vlad Guerrero's hit really well. He
He's
just now that he's
expecting,
shed the weight,
yeah, it's a huge
we
improvement,
expect huge improvements over the last couple seasons.
and that might help
Springer
his defense also, which
Yeah,
is
and Springer plugs right in with all those guys. I mean, they all get extra protection. They'll see better pitches than they would be otherwise. Say Guerrero goes off. I mean, you're not going to want to walk or pitch around Guerrero just to face Springer or Bichette. So just the way it balances the lineup kind of makes it less like the Braves lineup last year and more like a Dodgers type lineup where it's just stacked throughout.
right. A
Because
lot of
even
guys
Teoscar
consistent.
Hernandez had kind of a breakout season last year. I kind of wanted to review
That's
his
a
stats.
that's a good comparison because you looked at the okay, well maybe not because the Dodgers lineup is just better than the Braves, but yeah, the Braves lineup is super stacked. They had last year Ozuna, Freeman, and Acuna kind of carrying the burden, and then the rest of the guys, yeah, Albies, Swanson, they're there, but I mean it was really just their big three. This lineup, it is really consistent. It's not going to be like that. They do have some stars. Um, but yeah, I mean, certainly not like the Dodgers, but that is, a good comparison. The Dodgers lineup super consistent every out, that's a hard out, and that's what you want, and that's what this new Jays lineup gives you. So very very happy for them.
The addition of like Ozuna and Darno for the Braves like totally flipped their lineup from being like four deep to being like all the way
Right.
through, and that's kind of like what the Blue Jays look like right now. Before we even see what Bichette and Guerrero can do on a full season.
Yeah, I would say their guys have more upside for
Oh
sure.
yeah, for
Like
sure. Like
yeah,
they're starting at where the Braves were.
right, right.
Yeah, so I'd expect big things from this Blue Jays team this year.
And I mean their bullpen, like when you add Kirby Yates, he's definitely, by far their best reliever. I mean, yeah, he's gonna be their closer, no question. But they really, they had Ken Giles, who, he hadn't been that lockdown guy with the Astros. You might have seen he punched himself in the face. But yeah, he was doing good with the Jays, but yeah, they don't have him anymore. So I mean, Kirby Yates, he's gonna come in, he's gonna be
Rafael Dolis, 1.5 ERA last year, limited
that
innings, but
that's true, limited
bodies.
innings. But yeah. Yates, I think he, as long as he's healthy, he's definitely a lockdown guy, though. Someone you don't have to worry about. I mean, everyone's gonna blow saves now and then. But yeah, definitely like a lot of teams can't say that. A lot of teams they have these great offenses, but then they'll just blow leads. In the worst time you can. The ninth inning, and even Yates, you've seen him pitch multiple innings for the Padres, and even that's when they had no DH. So you're definitely not going to have an issue doing that with in the AL. You can definitely, come out, get 2 guys in the 8th, maybe 1 guy in the 8th, and then come out for the 9th. So definitely sturdies up that, bullpen. And the best way, get good quick is to, build through the bullpen, because then you win the games you should win. And, they did that along with signing one of the best outfielders on the market.
Kirby Yates in 2019 was the league save leader. Across 60 innings, he had a 1.19 ERA, 354 ERA plus. That's like unheard of unless you're a really good closer. 2020 was a little rough. He only threw 4 innings, got
Right,
hurt.
he had an injury,
but huge signings for the Jays today.
No, trust me, Blue Jays fans. I'm a Padres fan. I watched a lot of those 2019 games, and yeah, I didn't even know. Yeah, he had a 1.19 ERA, like you said. Yeah, I didn't even know that. I just knew every time he came out, I was like, okay, we got the lead, we got Yates, and we're good. Like, it's almost like Trevor Hoffman feel, like back in the old days. But obviously, that's a crazy comparison. Yeah, but yeah, really, really good guy. And I'm also happy he didn't go to the Dodgers because I was really worried about that. I was so scared. I was like, no, I can't. I can't see Kirby Yates strike out the Padres for the win. Like, please, no. Like, so good job, Blue Jays. You did me a solid.
I have no idea how much wiggle room they have with the payroll, but they need to go out and get either Paxton and Taijuan Walker or try to convince Tanaka to come over. I have no idea how much money they have to wiggle with, but I think Paxton and Walker are pretty affordable.
Yeah, and especially with Paxton, you have a tremendous upside, and when he's going. I mean, we know when he was in Seattle, he was like a total ace, before he got traded to the Yankees. He was definitely like a #1 guy, you could say. So yeah, definitely go out, do that, and who knows, maybe maybe a 1, 2, 3 workhorse and Ryu, Pearson, and whoever you sign. So
there's some underrated free agent pitchers out there right now. I saw an article about Matt Moore today. I don't know if you remember who Matt Moore is. Came up with the Rays like in 2012 or something like that. He's bounced around a few different teams, but he's only 31 years old. He's pitched in Japan I think he pitched 15 games there last year. He had like a 2.1 ERA. I mean, he's played in big games in the big leagues. I think he'd be a good like 4 starter for them. They could sign a guy like Anibal Sanchez, who had that run with the Nationals, pitched a few good years for the Tigers. They have options for sure, cheap options.
Is Oder, is he a free agent?
He is.
Oh yeah,
that'd be a good pick for them.
There's another route. I mean, I'm assuming this puts them out of the. This probably definitely puts them out of the Trevor Bauer conversation, unless he wants 1 year. But I mean, I don't know. You never know with Bauer, but probably not.
Going I think it's in their best interest to not drop $30 million on a starter and then pick up solid guys like Paxton, Walker, whoever else. They could pick up 3 of those guys for probably the cost of 1 Bauer contract.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably better for them in the long run. You can never have too much pitching.
Right. So yeah, I mean, Odorizzi, Paxton, yeah, definitely lots of options you can go. So I mean, we'll see. We'll see if they're an active team. I mean, we've been hearing the whole offseason. Rays are gonna, or not the Rays. Jays have been gonna make a big splash. They're gonna do something, and yeah, like today, I don't know. It might have been yesterday, it might have been today. They got Yates, then they got
today,
yeah, Springer. So yeah, one day, 2 huge moves, and then for some reason the whole thing about the Mets just popped into my head. So I don't know if you. We don't have to talk about that right now.
We'll talk about that this week.
We'll talk about that later, guys. Yeah, that just came in my head. So yeah, I'm sorry, Mets fans. Your team is still really good. Just so random, yeah. And yeah,
only the Mets.
Only the Mets. Yeah. So.
But in the next couple days, next week or two, we're gonna see these names start flying off the board. All those starters.
Definitely.
There's gonna be such a small pool of starters left after probably next week, and good thing on the Blue Jays for kind of getting their payroll set before they do that total wave of starters where they can guarantee that they get their best guy and then kind of fill in after that.
Right.
And but we'll see what they end up doing.
You could say Springer was, he was likely to get more money than LeMahieu, right? Like that was like an accurate thing you could have said before they both signed. Like I mean, you don't
Like
know.
it shouldn't be that way. LeMahieu's probably the better
I
player,
mean,
but
well, at this
Springer's
point, yeah,
probably going to
LeMahieu's a
demand
better,
more
but just
money.
because he's younger, he can demand more. Yeah, like, and you did see what happened is LeMahieu, he signs for what, like 90 million, something like that, and now that was the biggest deal. And actually before that it was Liam Hendricks who had the biggest deal, and now we slowly saw the market go up and up and up, and that poses the question, what does Real Muto get? So I mean, I don't know if he makes more than Springer though.
Yeah, because catchers are kind of in a league of their own in terms of value. Like McCann got what 11
4
million from the Mets.
years, 40 million, I want to say.
It's
10
like
10
yeah, it's like 10 million a year.
Yeah.
But I think it's a bad look that Springer got 10 million more per year than LeMahieu did. Now that you bring up LeMahieu,
Well, I
because
think because it's just his age. I think just his age. That's a huge
I think
factor.
Springer's older than LeMahieu.
No, there's no way. Springer's like,
I think so.
I think Springer's like
Springer's
29.
almost he's 31 right now.
Oh, he's
LeMahieu is 32,
oh
so
yeah, I'm tripping. I thought Springer was like
not a
29 or
big gap there.
something. Yeah, that's not. I guess it was.
It feels like it, but yeah,
It
he's been
feels like
around
it.
for a
Yeah, it
while.
definitely feels like it. Just as like, yeah.
He kind of
Wow.
debuted late. He debuted at 24. I
Right.
mean, that's not late, but like
And Real
he
Muto
feels
does
like one of
have
the guys that debuted at 20.
some injury questions also, which is scary, especially catchers with injury issues, because you don't want to deal with that. But yeah, he's 29, so he might
Muto
get
should get
more.
more per year than these two did,
Right, and
but he
he's
probably
the
won't
best
edge out
catcher in the
Springer by
game.
much.
Just because you could say his hitting might be comparable to some other guys, but if you talk about just defense, hitting, even base running, which you really don't think about for catchers, he's elite. I mean, his arm, yeah, pretty much all assets or aspects. He's got it. So yeah, definitely the best catcher in the game, and yeah, we'll see. I mean, definitely to 100 mil, I'd say, but question is who? Phillies. They're what would you say they offered him? Do you still remember?
They offered him 5 years, 100 million. That's
Oh
the
wow,
same. That's the same per year as Springer's contract is.
right, but not as many years, and I'm sure he wants every year. That's huge for him. So
My
I
only
think
concern with the Springer signing, we talked about it a little bit before this, was when he's so it's 6 year deal. When he's 37 years old, he's still on the Blue Jays and he's eating up a lot of that payroll. Like if he drops off, it's looking like a Chris Davis type deal where he's
right.
just sitting on there for way too much money and not producing.
Right, and you could say, the whole, oh, just move him in a DH thing, at least it's the American League, so even if he's not the same, defender, he can at least play DH, but that's still not what you want to do. I don't think, you should go out with the intention of having guy for a DH, unless you're the Red Sox and it's JD Martinez, because in that situation it totally worked. But that was a super specific
That's a good
situation.
call, yeah.
Yeah, that was
I
a
mean,
super.
JD is one of the best
And
hitters
they
of
were
the
going
decade.
for. They had a window that they realized, and they were going for it, and they got it done. But most teams, you shouldn't go into it thinking, oh yeah, like I'm gonna have a DH, right? You do something like, obviously, like I don't know, like look at the Dodgers last year, I guess. They didn't, like, obviously they're in the National League, they weren't expecting it, but when the DH did become a thing, they didn't have to go out and get a DH. They were like, "Oh, we just have a bunch of guys who we were gonna put in the lineup at some point in the season. Now they can just become every day,
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great thing for, teams. You just have extra guys in the lineup. So yeah, that definitely could be a huge flaw, especially for a team like Toronto. They might not have the revenue that some of these other teams have, but I mean, still definitely a short term thing. They're not trying to worry about that. They wanted to make a big splash, and they got it done. They have one of the best outfields in the game. So
So
definitely.
looking at this right now, obviously I know nothing. I'm 21 years old. I have no baseball management experience, but I would say they keep them for a couple. They keep him for like maybe 2 years, get their guys into their prime until it's about time to extend them, and then trade Springer away before he starts declining at a really rapid rate. Try to just salvage what you can, save that extra 50 or 75 million off the end of his contract, and use it to keep Bichette or Guerrero
Right.
if that's the plan they want to go with. But I think that's probably their best
That's
option. Get them for the short term production.
right. I mean, that's the ideal scenario, but then like there are some dumb teams, but teams are, if they see that regression, even just a little bit, they're gonna think, are we really gonna take, the last 4 years at, or last 2, 3 years at 25 million a year? Like, I especially, because if you're getting to the teams that, that are dumb, they're not going to spend that money, period. And then if you're getting to the teams that are spending that money, they're too smart and they're even kind of cheaper in some aspects, like we just saw the Yankees with LeMahieu. So I don't know. I think honestly, I know this wasn't like a question, but if I had to bet on it, I'd say, he's a lifer for the Jays and he gets his number retired. Honestly, I could see that
Think so?
happening. Yeah, I could see that happening just because,
He'd
I
have to
mean,
go off,
he'd have
but
to go
it's
off,
not
but I
out of the
mean, it's not.
question.
It's not right now. He's their best position player. I mean, you could say Bichette,
Yeah,
but
that's
I,
fair.
I think right now he is. And I mean, who knows? Maybe none of their guys. They just even if Bichette stays the same, I mean, he could get way better. You never know. But I mean, if he plays his whole career there and he's good, that's it's not crazy for him to get his number retired. I mean,
I like what you said about how teams shouldn't pick DHs for their team unless it's like a specialty case.
right.
Maybe they can DH him. Him and Grichuk can kind of platoon right field and balance off a DH. But I think there are teams dumb enough to trade for a declining player who's getting a little older. The Tigers did it with Victor Martinez towards the end of their run. Victor
Mhm.
Martinez was about 35 years old, and he was still producing at the plate. He was just defensive liability. He couldn't play the field to save his life. But maybe we see a role like that for Springer somewhere down the line. Maybe a team like the Royals trades for him at the like when they're on the come up, or another team like I don't know, maybe the Padres in a couple of years on their decline. We don't know how that decline will look. If that
Right.
even it could be really short term. They could be a dynasty, but
The
a team that's
Padres.
kind of on the way out. Yeah,
Oh
a team
yeah.
that's kind of on the way out might take a chance on a couple of their top 10 prospects and just ship them to Toronto for the hope that they can squeeze a few seasons out of Springer and
Right, and
maybe
it could
make
be
that
a
contract worth it.
it could be a 1 year thing. A team could, be like, okay, we're one outfielder away from
Mm-hmm.
having a totally scary lineup. I'm not saying there's a team right now that falls into that, but yeah, you never know. 2, 3 years, a team could just be going for it for 1 year, and they could say, we'll take on the rest of this contract just for, our 1 year window. And yeah, I mean, like I said, it totally could happen. I mean, I didn't say that earlier. I said his jersey might. I think his jersey's gonna get retired, but yeah, it's not. It's totally not off the table. It's totally not off the table. Like, definitely,
Maybe a team like the Angels, desperation trade with
desperation.
Trout getting older, Rendon getting
Right.
older. Maybe they only have a year window or two to kind of make it
Then they
happen,
have
and they're
a.
maybe a piece away. They get aging Springer and try to get what they can out of him.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you never know. I mean, back to what you were saying though about what I said about the DH. Yeah, I just a quick thing. The Yankees did that. They didn't get a declining DH in Stanton, but they did get a guy who's strictly going to be a DH, and I don't like that at all because
They did it with
Yankees.
Encarnacion too.
Oh, they did
I
it
know
with
the
an.
White Sox did it.
Well, they did it, but it
They
was only
both did.
like a 1 year thing. And the Yankees, they did
Yeah.
do it also for a 1 year thing with Encarnacion especially. But Stanton was like a 30 million a year DH, who's
Mm-hmm. They
definitely
signed
like.
ADH.
Well, they didn't. They traded for, but essentially, yeah, the whole deal
Yeah.
was the contract, and yeah, who knows? They could have spent that money on Harper, who would have been a phenomenal outfielder. But I mean, I don't know. It's all speculation. But
Guys like Stanton, Cruz, and like Encarnacion in his prime. Those are guys that you sign strictly to be your DH, but they're worth it because of how productive they are. Don't
right.
know what Springer looks like at that age, but here he is, 31 years old, just signed a new contract, and we're here talking about his decline.
I don't know how we got to that. Yeah, that's very, very true. I mean, we talked about, this team's expectations. They definitely got pretty good expectations now. I'd say playoffs are definitely reasonable. And and yeah.
Yeah, Jays should easily be in the playoffs. Rays traded away their rotation, and while the Rays won't be gone for very long, they could even take another wild card spot. The Blue Jays should have second place in the bag, I think. This signing
Right,
alone, on top of the Yates signing, kind of solidifies that for me. But
right. And
we'll
yeah, like
see.
we said, way more upside than down for sure. Definitely could, you know, who knows, make a run this year. I wouldn't say they could
There's
beat
no
some
way
of
that this
these.
is a terrible deal for as long as they handle it right.
Right. This is not. Yeah. This is not a terrible deal. Yeah, by no means. So anyone who says it's a
If I
terrible
mean,
deal, they're not
if the
happy
Blue
with any
Jays
deal.
can make it to right, if the Blue Jays can make it to like an ALCS, I mean, this deal's a win. Making it that far in the playoffs, and this is your investment here. Obviously, they want that World Series bag, but
Or even if they're just
yeah, I
good,
think they'd
even
be
if
pretty
they're
happy.
just a relevant team for the next 5 years, that's
Mm-hmm.
you
You're always a
don't.
move or two away from being a
Right,
contender,
they're.
like a
I mean,
serious
right
contender.
now, even right now, they're a pitcher away. I'd say they're one really good starting pitcher away from totally like making the rest of the league, go wow. I
And
mean,
Nate Pearson could be that guy. One of their top
right.
prospects came up for a little bit. Dude throws 100 miles an hour with rising action. I mean, he looked really good in his couple innings he
I
threw
would
this
say
year,
I would
but he
say
got
they
hurt.
need him doing that in combination with another guy though, just because
Yeah,
but yeah, they are
I think they'd be better served to fill out the rotation instead of get those top end talents. But
right. But I mean, yeah, who knows what they could be on to next? Yeah, like we said, great guys, Odorizzi, Paxton. I mean Bauer, but yeah, probably not gonna
and they're
get
not
him.
incapable. Their rotation isn't incapable. I mean, they
No,
have
definitely
guys like
not. Definitely
Tanner
not.
Roark, Robbie
Ryu.
Ray was there.
The problem with Ryu is
Robbie Ray's still there.
yeah, the problem with Ryu is injuries. So, their best guy, he's what like 33.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's definitely a question, questionable rotation, but yeah, great team
Blue Jays
overall.
are though, like we said, they just put themselves in a position to be one or two moves away from being like legitimate contenders, like
Right.
the Yankees are, like the Padres are now, the
And
Dodgers.
the
I mean,
AL is certainly wide open.
AL's up for grabs. Yeah,
It's not like the NL. NL you have, the Dodgers obviously, and then the Padres now, if you thought they were scary now they got Musgrove, so they are slightly scarier. Okay, quick thing on that. I saw on Instagram all the Dodgers fans or fans before would be like, "Oh, Dodgers in 5," but now they were saying Dodgers in 6, and that completely made my day. Literally all the comments changed from to Dodgers in 5 to Dodgers in 6. I
I
thought that
mean
was like
that rotation is
yeah.
stacked, and they have Mackenzie Gore, one of the top pitching. I think he's the top
Yeah,
pitching prospect.
yeah,
Yeah,
he is. And then they have Clevenger coming back next year off TJ. So I
like
mean, yeah,
Paddock's gonna be their like 5 starter,
yeah,
and any team would be grateful to have Paddock as like their 2.
right. He was our one at a couple of years ago. So this team, yeah, but but yeah, why Mets in the NL? So yeah, NL is definitely a lot tougher. You have those three teams alone would be, I'd say, the overwhelming favorites, and if they were in the AL. But yeah, AL, you got the Yankees, who I'd say are the
White
top.
Sox, and that's it.
Yankees, White Sox. Who knows? Astros still might surprise you.
I think Astros are going to make a big move.
Athletics,
I think we're going to see a move from the Astros still, but Athletics
right,
just lost Simeon. I feel like they
right.
lost. Oh, they
No, they
lost
lost
Hendricks.
Hendricks. Yeah, so they
I
are,
mean,
but you
they're
never know with them.
vulnerable for
You never,
sure.
they're
You
definitely
never know,
vulnerable. But
but
yeah,
they are vulnerable.
right. But I think most people would agree. Yeah, Yankees, White Sox, and then Blue Jays, honestly. And it's not even, it's not like I would say the
It's not out of the
Mets. I would say
question.
the Mets, right, being the third team and the Dodgers being the first in the NL. That's more of a like a tough task for the Mets to beat the Dodgers than it is for the Jays to beat the Yankees. So they
I
definitely.
mean, the Rays did it last year on a Mike Brasso moonshot.
Yeah, that was
I mean, no one saw that.
right. Yeah, that I mean Yankees. Yeah, we could
I've never
spend a whole
felt
episode
more
on
joy
that.
watching a baseball game than seeing Mike Brasso take Chapman deep to left.
Not the previous year would yeah, Chapman has had
Altuve.
back to back really bad outings like in
He did it in 2016. He gave up the 3-run homer to Davis
oh
in
yeah,
Game
Rajai
7 of the World
Davis, yeah,
Series.
yeah, that too.
That is
So
an insane
that was
play
huge, but the thing is that's forgotten about because they still
because they
won.
lost.
No, well, the Cubs won.
The Indians
Yeah,
lost.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So that one didn't kill him as much, but yeah, the I don't know how we got to this point, but yeah, the one against the Astros, the Altuve one really bad, and the one last year really bad. So yeah, you don't know, Yankees fans, your top guy might be a liability come playoff time.
And they're not happy with him. If you've seen Yankees Twitter at all, they're
Well,
kind of mad at Chapman.
Yeah, unless your name is DJ LeMahieu, they're not happy with you. Hell, even Aaron Judge,
Sure.
they love him, but
He
I'm
just gets
sure,
hurt so
yeah,
easily.
then they're obviously going to be optimistic, but yeah, Yankees fans, that is, I don't hate them as much as you do. I don't really hate them at all, honestly, because I think they
I
add
don't
like a
hate
certain.
I don't like the Yankees, but
Yeah, but
I don't like
I
big
just think
market
the
teams
whole
either.
scheme behind it, right? It just adds a certain we've talked about this before, but especially the fans, just how passionate they are and like how, devoted to their team. No, they come on, their team is like a piece of them. Like some of these guys, they're gonna
Okay,
like,
okay. So
I you
the
just say that about a
passionate
lot of
guys,
guys.
there are passionate guys, and those
You
guys
think
are
there's
super passionate.
bandwagon?
But
But
they're
that makes it
over
better too, though.
90% of the
That makes
Yankees
it
fan
better
base
too,
is
though. The
just
fact that they're like guys that they just hop on. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw a stat like the Yankees tap is like the most owned piece of like sports memorabilia, or not like sports merchandise or something in the whole world, like something like that, which kind of impressed me because I thought it would be something for soccer or something, but I guess it's just
the
people wearing
world's
Yankees hats and
most
like
expensive baseball card. Just sold for 5.2 million. That was a
is
Mickey
that the
Mantle
Mickey
card,
Mantle?
Yankees.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and obviously, yeah. Yeah, great history also. So that adds to the fan base. But
I had some
yeah,
Yankee fan on Instagram trying to tell me that like Kluber was such a lock because the scouts saw him throw 30 good pitches and that $11 million is not too much money. And it's like, dude, we haven't even seen him face like a live batter in like
right.
2 years, and he hasn't been
My
good in 2 years.
my thing is it's only a 1 year deal. Like I heard someone say before, you can't really go wrong with a 1 year deal. And I mean you can't. If he sucks, what's $11 million to a five
It's
billion
the
dollar
Yankees who could have
franchise?
gotten someone like Tanaka back or
But I
gotten
would even if I had to, if I was in their situation, I would have went with him over. I would have went with Kluber over Tanaka. But
Tanaka's a fan favorite. He would come a little
right,
expensive, but I think they could have filled out that rotation a bit better than just throwing all the money at Kluber. The
right.
Jays were in on Kluber up until the last minute.
That would have been
Jays had the leading contract. That would have been a crazy move for them.
yeah, I saw one guy saying so it was just a really dumb Bleacher Report post. I wanted to talk about this last time, but like Bleacher Report, whenever they talk about baseball, they always try to like make it seem cooler, just because obviously all their following is mainly basketball, football, other sports, not baseball.
Mhm.
So when big
They're
stuff
big on
happens in
soccer too.
baseball, they just get roasted. They're like, why are you guys posting baseball? Like, no one cares about baseball. So they had this post. It was like, oh, Yankees superstars or something. And it was like, oh, Aaron Judge, Garrett Cole, Aroldis Chapman, like, and then it had Corey Kluber too. And I'm like, bro, this isn't the NBA. It's not like the Warriors where you're like, oh yeah, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, those couple of years. Like these
The
guys
Death
are,
Star.
that guy's a reliever. You just said that guy's a starting pitcher. This guy's like a position player. Like I'm like, dude, like all these guys, like yeah, they're stars. Yeah, Chapman's a great player. Judge is a great player. Cole's a great player. But it's just like it's not like that. We're trying to make these guys, seem like something they're not. Because I'm not. Don't get me wrong. They are certainly stars. I'm not disputing that. But when it's just trying to like it's just so weird. You normally when you see stuff like that for baseball, it's like, oh, projected Yankees rotation now, and it'll be, oh, Garrett Cole, Corey Kluber, Severino, Herman. Yeah, if Bleacher Report had posted that, I would have been like, yeah. And they were like, oh yeah, new Yankees lineup looking lethal. Like that would have been cool. Or they were like, oh yeah, lineup Judge, Stanton, Torres, LeMahieu, all when healthy. Sanchez, who's still a big name, but you don't know what you're gonna get. Like that would have been cool. But yeah, it just threw me off to see that. So quick rant. Sorry. Yeah.
I think the biggest, like, some of the most important pieces of like championship winning teams are like the surprise pieces. Like those guys that like weren't supposed to even be like starters necessarily, but here they are. Like for the Dodgers last year, it was their entire bullpen, and like Dustin May was really good for them, and that honestly is what got them over the Braves is that
Right.
bullpen because they were down 3-1 and they were just able to lock down those last couple games and come out
Right.
with the
I mean, they
wins.
traded for some guys. Like, I wouldn't say it was the craziest thing. Urias definitely had that potential. That guy they traded for, what's his name? Brusadar Gratterall. He had,
Yeah,
electric stuff coming from with the Twins or whatever. So,
imagine if the Twins kept him.
oh yeah. I mean, but Maeda though, Maeda was a huge part of their team last season for sure. So definitely,
Yeah,
definitely like I'd say worth it for both teams. But But yeah, the Dodgers, yeah, Bueller is like, he's still young, but we've seen him like dominate for so long
He's their
now.
best pitcher.
Oh yeah, he's you could say he's, I mean, no, I don't say he's better than DeGrom, but he's definitely like top 5 pitcher.
He's top 5, yeah.
Yeah,
Top 5 NL
definitely.
pitcher.
And yeah, I mean,
Kershaw's still good.
yeah, let's not even just start on the Dodgers. We've said this before,
No,
I'll say it
we
again.
can keep
They're
going,
just a
Phil.
really good team. They're just a really good team. Their bullpen, they'll address it if it's that big of an issue. Their lineup is insane. Pitching's insane. Yeah, we get it.
We'll save it for the weekend episode, but
yeah.
You got anything else on Springer? Because I think
Nope.
we've hit all our marks.
Yeah, we've hit on all the marks. We went on some random tangents, but that's fine. I mean, overall, great for the sport. Super happy it happened, and yeah, happy for all the Blue
Go
Jays
get some
fans.
pitchers, Blue Jays.
Yeah, go get one guy. Go get Paxton. There you go. I just made your decision for you. Go
They're
out there.
2 solid starters away from being right there.
Go out there, sign James Paxton. Tell Nate Pearson to be really good, and there you go.
What a revenge tour for James Paxton, who got just shit
Go
on by
do
the
that.
Yankees fans.
Do that.
For
Go to
years.
Yankee Stadium and strike out everyone. All right, do that, James Paxton. If you're listening.
Division rival. Oh my gosh,
Right.
I want that to happen more than anything now. Fuck the Yankees. Let's go Blue Jays. Yeah, go get Paxton.
Yeah, go get Hap also while you're at it. So yeah, but all right. I guess we'll see you guys later. We'll see you guys on the weekend episode.